On the morning of October 9th, 2024, a man pushed open my shop door holding a coffee in one hand and a repair estimate in the other. His SUV was sitting outside with 96,000 miles on it and a knock he swore had appeared overnight. He kept saying the same thing every customer says when they are scared. I did not do anything different. And that right there is the lie almost every driver tells themselves. Because the truth is, he had been slowly killing that engine for years, and so have most of the people watching this right now. Today, I'm going to walk you through 11 everyday habits that quietly destroy engines from the inside out. Not dramatic mistakes, not abuse. Small, ordinary things that feel completely harmless. And I'm warning you now, number 4 is something you almost certainly did this morning without thinking about it once. I have spent over 2 decades with my hands inside engines, and I can tell you that catastrophic failures are rarely caused by one big event. They are caused by repetition. The same tiny mistake made 1,000 times until metal that should have lasted 300,000 miles gives out at half that. The engine does not break suddenly. It erodes. And by the time you hear it, smell it, or feel it, the damage has already been compounding quietly for a very long time. So let's expose every one of these habits, why they cause damage, and exactly how to stop, starting with the one almost nobody believes is a problem. Habit number 1. Running your fuel tank near empty all the time. Most people treat the bottom quarter of the tank like free real estate. They ride the low fuel light like a personal challenge. Here's what they don't understand. In the vast majority of modern cars, the fuel pump lives inside the tank, submerged in the gasoline itself. That fuel does more than feed the engine. It surrounds the pump, cools it, and carries away heat generated by the electric motor running constantly. When you keep the tank low, you expose that pump to air. It runs hotter and it works harder. Over time, heat shortens its life dramatically. Worse, every bit of dirt, rust, and sediment in your fuel naturally settles at the bottom of the tank. Run it low constantly, and you're feeding that debris straight into your pump and filter. A fuel pump is a several $100 repair that people trigger themselves, one empty tank at a time. Keep it above a quarter, and you've already extended the life of a part you never think about. Habit number 2. Letting a cold engine idle for several minutes to warm it up. This was correct advice in 1985. It is wrong today. Old carbureted engines genuinely needed to warm before they would run right. Your modern fuel-injected engine does not. Here is the problem with long cold idling. When the engine is cold, the computer runs a richer fuel mixture to keep it stable. Extra raw fuel washes down the cylinder walls, strips away the thin protective film of oil, and slips past the rings into your oil pan, diluting the very lubricant protecting everything. The engine also warms up far slower at idle than under gentle load. So you sit there for 5 minutes thinking you are being gentle while you are actually washing your oil down and building moisture inside a cold engine. The correct method is simple. Start it, give it maybe 30 seconds, then drive away gently. The engine warms faster and cleaner when it is actually working. Habit number 3. Stretching your oil changes far past their limit. Oil is not permanent. It carries a package of additives, detergents that hold contaminants in suspension, anti-wear compounds, and viscosity stabilizers. Those additives wear out. As oil ages, it thickens with combustion byproducts, loses its ability to flow into tight bearing clearances, and eventually begins forming sludge, a tar-like residue that clogs the narrow oil passages your engine depends on. Once oil flow is restricted, parts that were never designed to run dry start grinding metal on metal. I have personally cut open engines turned into solid black sludge by owners who pushed 10,000 and 15,000 miles on oil rated for far less. The repair was a new engine. The prevention was $40 and an afternoon. Don't gamble an engine to save an oil change. Now, habit number 4, the one I promised you almost certainly did today. Driving off hard within seconds of starting a cold engine. You start the car, and within 5 or 10 seconds you are pulling into traffic, climbing the on-ramp, giving it real throttle. Here is why that's so damaging. When an engine sits overnight, most of the oil drains down into the pan. At the moment of startup, your bearings, camshafts, and cylinder walls have only a thin residual film protecting them. It takes a few seconds for the oil pump to build pressure and push fresh oil to the top of the engine. Studies of engine wear consistently show that the overwhelming majority of wear happens in those first cold moments, not during hours of highway cruising. Now stack on top of that demanding heavy throttle before the oil has fully circulated and before metal components have expanded to their proper operating clearances, and you are scraping life off your engine every single morning. The fix costs you nothing and 10 seconds. Start the engine, let it settle, then drive gently. Low RPM, light throttle for the first few minutes until the temperature needle starts to move. That single change, done daily, is the difference between an engine that ages gracefully and one that wears out early. Habit number 5 connects directly to it. Constant short trips. If most of your driving is a few minutes to the store, to school, to work and back, your engine may almost never reach full operating temperature. A fully warm engine burns off the moisture and fuel that naturally condense inside the crankcase. An engine that never gets hot enough lets that moisture accumulate. Water mixes with combustion gases to form acids that attack bearings. Fuel dilutes the oil and destroys its protective film. Sludge forms faster. This is why a car with 40,000 short-trip miles can be in worse internal shape than one with 100,000 highway miles. If your routine is all short hops, take your car on a longer, steady drive regularly to fully heat the oil and cook off the contamination. Your engine needs to actually get hot to stay healthy. Habit number 6. Ignoring warning lights, especially a flashing check engine light. People have been trained to treat that light like a vague suggestion. Here's the line you need to remember. A steady check engine light means investigate soon. A flashing check engine light means stop driving. A flashing light almost always indicates an active misfire, raw fuel passing unburned into your exhaust. That raw fuel ignites inside your catalytic converter and can superheat it until it melts internally, turning a cheap sensor problem into a repair that can cost more than the car is worth. And a temperature warning is even less forgiving. Drive a few miles with an overheating engine and you can warp the cylinder head or blow the head gasket, again, turning something minor into a catastrophe. That light is not an inconvenience. It is your engine telling you the truth before the damage becomes permanent. Habit number 7. Lugging the engine. This means running in too high a gear at too low an RPM while asking for power, like accelerating up a hill in a high gear while the engine groans and shudders at low speed. It feels economical. It is the opposite. At low RPM under heavy load, cylinder pressures spike abnormally, and the fuel can detonate at the wrong moment instead of burning smoothly. That violent knock hammers your pistons, rod bearings, and crankshaft. Do it constantly, and you accelerate bearing wear enormously. The engine is actually telling you that shudder and strain is a cry for a lower gear. Downshift. Let the RPM rise into a comfortable range and let the engine breathe. Smooth and a little higher in the rev range is far gentler than lugging. Habit number 8, using cheap oil or the wrong viscosity to save a few dollars. Your manufacturer specifies an exact oil grade for a reason. Modern engines run incredibly tight tolerances and rely on variable valve timing systems that are operated by oil pressure through tiny, precise passages. Put in oil that is too thick and it will not flow properly when cold, starving those systems at startup. Too thin, and the protective film breaks down under heat and load. Bargain oil that lacks a proper additive package breaks down faster and protects less. The few dollars you save per change are nothing compared to the timing components, bearings, and seals you put at risk. Open your manual, find the exact specification, and never go below it. Habit number 9, neglecting your air filter and intake. Your engine breathes enormous volumes of air, and the filter is the only thing standing between clean air and the dust, grit, and debris of the outside world. A clogged filter chokes airflow, and because the computer adjusts fuel to match the air it sees, you lose efficiency and power so gradually you never notice it happening. Worse, a filter left until it's torn or saturated can let abrasive particles slip past into the engine, and dust is essentially sandpaper to your cylinder walls and rings. An air filter is one of the cheapest parts on the entire car. Check it and replace it on schedule. There is no excuse for letting a few dollars of paper damage thousands of dollars of metal. Habit number 10. Topping off the tank after the pump clicks. You know the move, the nozzle shuts off, but you squeeze in a little more to reach a round number. Your fuel system has a sealed evaporative emission system designed to capture fuel vapors centered on a charcoal canister. When you force extra fuel past the automatic shutoff, you can push liquid gasoline into a system built only for vapor, saturating and damaging that canister. The result is a check engine light, failed emissions tests, and a repair that costs far more than the few cents of fuel you squeezed in. When the pump clicks off, you are done. Put the nozzle back and walk away. Habit number 11. Ignoring your coolant and brushing off small temperature creep. Coolant is not just water that lives forever. It carries corrosion inhibitors that protect your water pump, radiator, heater core, and the metal passages running through your engine. Those additives deplete over time, and old coolant turns acidic and begins eating the very components it was meant to protect, often starting with the water pump. People run the same coolant for a decade and then wonder why everything corrodes at once. And if you notice the temperature gouge slowly creeping higher than normal, do not wait. That creep is the early warning before a real overheat, and catching it early can be the difference between a small repair and a destroyed engine. Change your coolant on schedule and respect that gauge. So there they are, all 11. And I want you to notice something. Not one of these is dramatic. Not one feels dangerous in the moment, running the tank a little low, idling to warm up, driving off quickly on a cold morning, squeezing in that last bit of fuel. Every single one feels harmless, and that is exactly what makes them so destructive. Engines almost never die from one terrible decision. They die from 1,000 small ones repeated until the damage becomes permanent. The man with the SUV and the overnight knock did not do anything different that morning. He had been doing the same small things every day for years, and the engine finally added up the bill. But here's the good news, and it's the whole reason this matters. Every one of these habits is free to fix. You do not need new parts. You do not need a mechanic. You do not need to spend $1. You just need to understand what your engine is actually asking for. Give it a moment to circulate oil before you demand power. Let it get fully warm. Feed it clean oil and air. Listen when it warns you, and stop treating the small stuff as if it does not count. Do that, and the same engine that would have failed at 150,000 miles will quietly carry you well past $250,000 without drama. The driver who understands these habits is not lucky. They are just paying attention, while everyone else is slowly, invisibly grinding their engine down. If even one of these made you rethink something you do every day, especially number 4, hit that like button so more drivers see it before it costs them an engine. Subscribe if you want more straight talk breakdowns that put you back in control of your car instead of at the mercy of a repair bill. And tell me in the comments, which of these 11 were you doing without realizing it? Be honest, because the most expensive habit is always the one you did not know you had. Now you know. So starting tomorrow morning, you can stop.